Hey, Mr. Spooner here, ready to teach you about simplifying rational expressions. Let's get it going. All right, so we want to simplify this fraction, and the first thing you probably want to do, because I kind of want to do it, even though I know I shouldn't, is just cancel out these x squareds, ba-bam, and these x's, but you are not allowed to do that. If you take nothing else away from this video, know that, for example, 1 plus 5 over 1 plus 3 is not just 5/3. Sorry about writing this bad, right? Because 1 plus 5 is 6, and 1 plus 3 is 4, and 6/4 is not the same as 5/3. So you are not, because of that plus sign, allowed to just cancel things out. Instead, what you're going to do is, sorry about that, let me get rid of the wrong work, is you want to factor. The key to all of this is factor first. So I'm going to factor the top, x times x plus 5, just undistribute that x. I'm going to factor the bottom, x times x plus 3. And now that you're multiplying, now that you've written this as factors, you can cancel things out. So I can cancel out the x over the x, and this turns into x plus 5 over x plus 3. Are you allowed to cancel out these x's now? No. Same as the thing before. If there's a plus or minus sign, you're not allowed to do it. So this is actually my simplified final answer. I know it might not seem that much more simplified, but it is. The other thing you want to do here is you want to do some restrictions. You're not allowed to divide by 0. So I'm thinking to myself, what could we have plugged in for x that would make the bottom 0? Well, before we cancel things out, it's almost like a little mini ZPP problem here. I know that that would have made it 0 if x were 0. And then I also know that x could have been -3. That would have made the bottom 0. So I'm okay simplifying x plus 5 over x plus 3, but I have something called restrictions, which say that this is true, but only if x is not 0 or -3. So in these problems, I made a little drawing there. You're looking for two things. You first want to factor so you can simplify, but then you also want to find the restrictions, which are what would make the denominator 0. You are not allowed to divide by 0. So this is kind of confusing, but I think you'll get into it. Do you all want to try this one right now? Try simplifying this one. Pause the video. You're going to factor, cancel things out, and did you end up with this? 3x over 5 with 4 as the restriction? If so, nice job. How about something like this? It looks like you could cancel out right away, but again, this was confusing, so I'm just going to plug in numbers and see what happens. Let's say y were 3. What happens here? It's 3 minus 2 over 2 minus 3. That turns into -1. What if you plugged in like 10? That would be 10 minus 2 over 2 minus 10. That would be 8 over... Whoa, it's still -1. It turns out that y minus 2 and 2 minus y are actually opposites. Can you kind of see that? And they cancel out, but you get a -1. They cancel out to become -1. Obviously, if it were the exact same thing on the top and bottom, those things would cancel out to become +1. So here they're opposites, so it's -1. But you still need the restriction, which in this case is y can't be 2, because that would make the bottom 0. So that's just, I don't know if that'll come up a lot, but when you have opposites like that, you can cancel them out, but they become -1. All right, another practice problem here. Factor, see if you can cancel things out. I got this, x plus 4, where x can't equal -1 as my restriction. Hopefully that worked out for you. All right, the next section, which is kind of the same thing. You're going to try to simplify, but now you might be multiplying or dividing. This actually looks like something we would have done back in exponent rules days. Remember, you can cancel out anything that's on the top with anything in the bottom. So let's just, like, for example, I see that 9 and 12 can reduce. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. I can do 15 and 35. Divide those by 5. This would be 3, and this would be 7. I also can cancel out these 3's. See the 3 on the top and the bottom here? Those just go away. So then when you simplify that, it looks like my coefficients turn out to be 4 over 7. Then how about my x's? You could cancel these out. I actually just like to multiply across and then deal with it. So I've got x to the 9th on top, x to the 4th on the bottom, which then reduces to x to the 5th if you use your division exponent rule, because 9 minus 4 is 5. We'll still practice our restrictions. here. It's not as important, but x can't equal 0 because if you plug in 0, the whole thing just turns into 0. But the important part here is that it's 4x to the 5th over 7. But kind of the same rules as we were doing before. You try to cancel things out. All right, so here's one to practice. You can pause the video here and factor and see what cancels out. Let's see if that was your answer. X minus 2, x minus 3 over 6x, where your restrictions are 0 and negative 7. Get some good practice factoring here. And then I think I had one more for you. What do you do if it's a division problem? You still want to factor. You still want to find all your restrictions, but I remember this from fraction division. It's a keep, change, flip problem. You're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So if you pause the video and try that one out here, here's all my work. Hopefully this makes sense. The only thing I'll add for this one is all of these restrictions come from the denominator of the first fraction, but also the numerator and denominator of the second fraction. So all of my restrictions, let me just write it out here. My restrictions, I had to figure out what made the bottom 0 here, but also in both of these places, because when you flip it, either one could be on the bottom, or if any part of that fraction turns into 0, then you're dividing by 0. So you're looking in where I circled in blue for the restrictions. One other little hint on the restrictions, you should do this after you factor, but before you cancel things out. Because even though you're canceling things out, look at my little red crosses here, my red slashes, those things were still in the original problem, so it would still make something undefined if you were dividing by 0. Hopefully this helps. Go back and watch it again, especially if you didn't pause it when I told you to try them on your own. That should help. And also, I hope you find a little satisfaction. I always enjoy the crossing things out. There's not a lot of times in math class where you're allowed to just make things go away, and this is one of those. So enjoy. See you later.